Raw Customs. I'm your host, Patrick Apollo, and on this episode, I'm going to be showing you how to build a Boba Fett Mandalorian helmet. Now for this, I came up with some templates for you. Right here, it's got a front, and this would be the back side. What you want to do is you want to go in and scale this to whatever size you're wanting to make. Scale it off the back side here. For an adult, I recommend scaling it to about 5.5 inches. And you'll need to go ahead and cut a circle for that, about 11.5 to 12 inches. That'll be to make the top here. Now if you want to go to a kid size, make a kid size, do the same thing, scale it along the back edge here. And you're going to want to go about 4.5 inches. As far as cutting the circle, cut it at 10 inches, and that makes a really good size helmet for a kid. Now moving on, my past episodes I've been using a hot glue gun. On this, I've actually moved over to using a contact cement. Is what I used to build this one with. This is a contact cement that I picked up at Home Depot. It's made by DAP. It seems to be working pretty good. I've been wanting to use try out the barge, but I can't find it off the shelf anywhere, so I think I'm gonna have to order it. But if any of y'all know a store I can just walk in and get it off the shelf, leave me a message in the comments, and I'll go check that glue out for you. Now other than that, moving on, you're going to need a few things. Of course you're going to need markers, pencils, and a compass. That'll come in handy. Razor, pen, knife, scissors, all that type of stuff. A heat gun. Now a lot of y'all have been asking me about the heat gun, if you could use a hairdryer instead, and I've had some of y'all shoot me some comments that you're successfully using it. Yeah, I would say with the lighter foams like 5mm lower, you might be able to get away with using a hairdryer, but any thicker than that, you're going to need a heat gun. Now this particular one I got at Harbor Freights. They normally sell them for around $15, but if you get on their mailing list where they send you coupons, generally they have a coupon for this in there, and you can pick it up for $8, and that's cheaper than you can buy most hairdryers. So I really recommend getting one of these if you're going to be getting into building multiple props. Also on this one, you're going to need a Dremel. This is the prop builder's best friend. I recommend getting the depth guide for it. You'll need it, that's an option on this one to use, as well as multiple bits, but you'll be using that to build this. Now, if you don't want to use the contact cement, you can use a hot glue gun to build this. This one here was built with a hot glue gun, so if you prefer to use one of those, go right ahead and just use it in place of the contact cement. Also, a wood burner. I picked this up at Walmart. It's like $10. It comes with several tips on it, and this is great for making lines and actually carving into the foams here. You make some real decorative stuff with it, so one of those we'll be using on this as well. Now getting into materials, the visor here. I had a hard time. I was looking around for something good for y'all, and what I found is a Rubbermaid tub. Now the only place I found this off the shelf is actually at Walmart. It sells for around $10, but it is dark and it's translucent where you can actually see through this. And since it's plastic, you can actually bend it slightly, so it works out great for visor guys. Now the main body of this is made with our 1/2-inch foam that you can go purchase at your local hardware store, Home Depot, generally sold in a pack of 4 for around $15 to $20, depending on where you find it. One sheet of that will make the whole base helmet. You also need some 5mm foam. This part makes the cheek piece here. It's a little flexible but still rigid enough. Y'all have seen me use it in most of my projects that I've done so far. On top of that, some 3mm foam. So a sheet of that. Alright guys, that should cover the majority of the stuff you're gonna need to use in this video. So let's get to the build. Start by cutting out your templates. Keep this section of the mask as well. I messed up my template a little bit, so here I'm just making a new copy. On this part of the template, go ahead and draw a curve around through the middle and to the bottom like shown. And then that section can be cut out. Make a relief cut from the corner down, leave just a little attached at the top. Then spread it apart, creating a small gap, and then secure that with tape to hold its position. Next, take your compass and set your radius. For the top of my helmet, I need 11.5 inches, so I'm setting my radius at 5 3/4 inches. Once that's set, use your compass to draw out your circle. Next, you can trace out the one side of your faceplate, and then it can be flipped over and lined up to trace out the other side. Then you can trace the back side of the helmet. The short end should be put together. If you lay everything out right, you should be able to get it all on one sheet. Once you have everything traced out, go ahead and cut it out. Next, take the circle you cut out and heat it with the heat gun. This needs to be really hot. Notice I'm wearing gloves. Then push it into a bowl to dome it. You'll need to hold it here until it cools, or put something in there and lay in a heavy weight to hold it in place. Once the foam cools, it will hold its shape. Next, onto the back of the helmet. Measure out and draw a rectangle in the center. Now I got 3 different methods for this part. Just go with the one you like the best. Method 1. Take a Dremel with a depth guide and a sanding wheel and route out the square. A ruler can be used as a fence to keep your line straight. Once everything's routed, sandpaper can be used to clean and smooth everything up. Heat the area with the heat gun and then press in something around to create an indented curved area. And then a wood burner can be used to put in some lines. Method 2, just keep it simple. Use your wood burner to trace out your rectangle and draw in your lines. Then use your heat gun to heat your piece and curve it. Method 3, after drawing your rectangle and curving your piece, cut it out. Use your burner to burn in your design. Then your piece can be glued back in, leaving it recessed. Onto the top of the helmet. Take your Dremel with a sanding drum and flatten out the edge all the way around. Next, heat up and curve your face area. Now it's time to start gluing it together. If you're using contact cement, go ahead and apply it to both areas that are to be glued together. Wait about 5 minutes and then you can start assembling them. I recommend starting at one edge and working your way around, being careful to keep everything lined up. The back piece may be a little longer than you need. If this is the case, just line up the back piece into the desired position and then trace and cut off the area that needs to be removed. Then the back can be glued to the top of the helmet. Then the edges that join the front and back piece can be glued together. Take your cheek piece template and trace it onto 5mm foam. Add a little bit extra to the bottom on the ends. Once traced, go ahead and cut them out. Heat and mold the piece, curving it inward. Next, apply your glue to the edges of the cheek area. Then apply glue to the backside edge of the cheek piece. Glue your cheek piece into positions, starting at the corner and working your way down. Then from the corner and work your way around the curve. After glued in, the excess at the bottom can be cut off. Next, take a piece of 5mm foam and line it up on the back side of your cheek piece, and then trace that area out. Once your piece is marked, you can cut it out. Apply cement to your edges and then glue it into place, starting from one edge and working your way around. Take your sheet of 3mm foam and trace your face piece out again. Add a little extra to your 4 bottom edges. Then cut your piece out. Make sure and save your center section where the lens would be. Take your 3mm foam and wrap the back side of the helmet from seam to seam to get your length. Take your face template and use it to trace on the back edge. Again, add a little extra at the bottom. Mark the height for your top edge and then draw your line. And then your piece can be cut out. Take the center piece from the faceplate that you cut out earlier and line it up on your tub. Don't directly trace this part. Go ahead and scale it up a little bit. I recommend putting dots at all your corners and then using a ruler for all your straight lines. Once your visor is drawn, you can use the Dremel with a cutoff wheel to cut it out. A razor knife and sandpaper can be used to clean up all your edges. Apply glue around the edges of the face where the visor will lay, as well as the edges of the visor. Then the visor can be glued down. A Dremel can be used to clean up the edges around your cheek piece. Next, spread the glue for the faceplate overlay. Make sure and apply it to the entire area as well as to the back side of the overlay. If your glue is set up, the face piece can be laid into position. Once everything's glued into place, you can cut off the excess using scissors. I recommend laying your pieces in place and tracing out that area so you'll know what area to apply the glue. Once you've applied your glue, the back overlay can be put in place. Next, cut a strip from your 1/2" foam about 1.5 inches wide. Then lay it on the side of your helmet to mark your length. Use something round to trace a curve at the top, and then make your cut. Sand your backside smooth, and then a Dremel can be used to bevel the edges. Sandpaper can be used to clean up your piece. Then put your piece back on your helmet to mark where the excess needs to be cut off. Then a burner can be used to add a line down the center. Then the area can be marked off and glued into place. Then cut a piece for your next. Trace your curve and cut it out. Then lay it on your helmet to figure out your height and cut that piece out. And then trace and make a copy of that piece.
Then make a mark where it'll sit at the top of the helmet and make a line there. Use a Dremel to recess the lower section. This will give you an overlap at the top edge of the helmet. Sand and bevel your outer piece. Measure out the length for your scanner arm and then lay it out on some thin plywood. Then the piece can be cut out using a saw and cleaned up with some sandpaper. Next, trace your outside piece onto some 5mm foam and then lay out a section where the arm can be lifted up and down, and then cut your piece out. Take a small nail and drive it about halfway through the bottom of the arm. A pair of docks can be used to cut off the head of the nail. Next, glue your center section to the base. Put your arm in place, and then the front piece can be glued down. Then sand all your pieces flush. Then use this piece to make a mark so you can cut your next block. Then make a copy of that one. Then grab you a scrap piece and bevel an edge. Lay the block you cut out earlier on the back side of the bevel and then cut it out. Mark your bevel section and then cut it off to fit in the center. Use your bevel piece to mark the center area of the second block you cut out. Then use a razor to cut that section out in an angle. Now you can glue your top piece in. Then you can glue your bevel piece to the rectangle piece you cut. And then that piece can be glued to the helmet, followed up by your last rectangle piece. Then make your bottom piece the same way you did on the other side and glue into place. Next, draw and cut out your scanner piece. Then trace and make a copy of that first one. Sand off your rough side. Then cut a long bevel on the piece that will be the back side. Glue your two pieces together. Then cut a bevel on your short side. Sand and clean up your piece. Then grab a piece of scrap and bevel the edge. Make sure it fits your scanner and then cut it to size. Glue the piece in place. And now your scanner can be glued to your arm. Painter's caulk can be applied and smoothed out to clean up your edges. Then tape up your visor and apply 2 coats of Plasti Dip. That can be followed up by 2 coats of your base paint. Then tape off as needed to apply additional colors. To finish up mine, I broke out the airbrush to add a little detail and weathering, as well as a little dry brushing with silver paint.
Alright guys, there you go, another prop build down, an actual Star Wars prop for all you Star Wars nerds like myself out there. I am a huge Star Wars fan, have been since I was a kid. As you can see back here, I've got 3 Mandalorian helmets built. I've got a partial one right here. I've got 2 more over there I'm playing with. Now the way I built these in the video is the way I actually like to build and really enjoy building, where I just starting with a simple basic pattern or something and actually just building on top of that and using my own imagination to come up with something at the end. To me, that's just enjoyable, a little more fun than going off a straight template and building. Even though I'll continue to do that, this is just what I enjoy doing the most. As far as a kid's helmet, you can see how much smaller this one is versus this one just by scaling it 1 inch, the difference in the size of the helmets. Now as far as the inside, getting it to stay on your head well, I just glued in some of that blue foam. It's pretty squishy, and you stick it on, that way when you turn your head and nodding, the helmet stays put and it's not slipping all over and falling off. Alright guys, that's it for this episode. Appreciate you watching. Winter's coming up, so hopefully work will slow down. I can get back to you on your questions. Until then, keep them coming in. The questions, the comments, I actually love to read them. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next build.